Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
This is my final maths-related interview.
What sort of villain gets that?
It's Australia's reaction.
It's an
This
exclusive.
is an exclusive. That's hitting the cutting room floor, bro.
Caused a lot of drama and it never got aired.
It just went nuts.
What is
Oh,
up?
how you doing?
Great.
Back in the studio, man. I'm excited, girl.
I'm pumped because today we have a special lady. She caused a little bit of scandal on her season, which is different because we've had people from Love Island, from Maths.
Come on.
This time we've got someone from Big
Brother.
Brother.
Today in the studio, we've got Tully Smyth, and she was on Big Brother season 10. Okay, and you may remember her for having a girlfriend on the outside and then falling in love with the housemate Drew.
On the
So,
inside.
the inside
Boom.
tea. And then she went ahead and did Big Brother season 14 as well. So, hey, we got a lot of
Lot
questions.
to unpack. She's in live in our Melbourne studio now.
But us here, we are recording on Gadigal Land. So, let's go.
Woo!
Everybody help me welcome to the studio, Tully Smyth.
Woo!
Hey, girl.
Hello. Hi, guys.
How you
You
doing?
look amazing.
Oh, thank you. It's a really warm day, weirdly, here in
Yeah.
Melbourne. So I'm a
What's
little
up?
bit, my back's a bit sweaty, but that's okay. We can't see my back, can we?
We love a sweaty back.
She said you like a sweaty back. What you mean, Sel?
It's a natural moisturizer. It's good for you.
Girl, that's the first time I've ever heard about that. Man, thank you so much for joining us, I guess, like virtually in the Melbourne studio. This is interesting.
I know. This is the first time I've ever done this.
Technology, hey?
I
That's what's
know.
up.
Crazy.
Oh my God, girl, let's jump right into it, man. Like, I always like to start off by, asking a little bit about, before you jumped into reality TV. So let's talk a little bit about before reality TV. How was your life like before Big Brother?
I mean, firstly, I was always a huge reality TV fan. I remember watching the first Big Brother, as a kid and watching the live streams on the internet all hours of the day and night. I used to sneak down from my bedroom. My parents thought I was asleep and just stay up all night just watching the live feeds. So I've always loved reality TV. But before I sort of, I guess, jumped into the world myself, I worked in advertising.
Wow.
So I worked at a Sydney agency. I was a social media manager, which is weird now when you think about what I do today. But I was
Yeah.
kind of on the other end of everything. So I was running the social media accounts for like Tim Tam and Dove and V Energy drinks. So I was doing all the Facebook posts and stuff for that in an advertising agency. So that's what I did before I took the plunge.
Okay. Have you always wanted to do Big Brother? Like, has that been like something that was on the bucket list or something?
I mean, I loved it as a as a fan. I loved it as a fan. And people used to say to me I should go on reality TV. I've always been a bit of a attention-seeking whore. But I don't know. It actually wasn't my idea to audition. I just kind of thought I like winning things. I don't like sort of risking putting myself out there if I know I'm not going to get through. And it just seemed like I would just never get picked. But it became very quickly on audition day that I was gonna get through.
That's kind of interesting to me because a lot of people usually just, like for me, I auditioned, you know what I mean? And I manifested. I was like, I want to go reality TV. This is what I want to do. So, and then there are also like stories of people that get scouted as well. You know what I'm saying?
You have to remember, this was back in the day, guys. In
that's
fact,
true.
actually, yesterday marked my 10-year anniversary of being evicted from the house.
Right, yes.
Crazy.
So
A
it's
whole
been
decade.
It's been a Maths didn't exist.
Yeah.
Love Island didn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So it wasn't really. I feel like now a lot of the people that go on these shows have dreamt about it or set out to do that or had sort of grand plans. I'm going to do this show because then I want to go on to radio. I want to go on to become an influencer. Back in the day when I did this, they weren't options.
Absolutely.
So
I remember back in the day, though, with Big Brother, I think the girls would come off and they would go on the, forgive me if I'm wrong, is it what's that magazine where they
FHM magazine. Yes. Yeah. Oh
that
yeah,
was like
Reggie.
you made it if you made it
Yeah.
on the cover of that. It was
Yeah.
that or radio.
Yeah, no, a lot of the Big Brother girls did do a sexy FHM spread.
Yes.
Reggie, who is now quite a bit older, Reggie did a sexy spread that we've seen, which is just flabbergasting. But yeah, no, that wasn't even. We were kind of in this weird spot where it wasn't the original, Channel 10 show. We were on Channel 9, and we didn't do the nightclub appearances. We didn't do
Yeah.
that kind of thing. We were in this weird kind of middle zone. But Instagram wasn't even really a thing when I came out of the house. It kind of had just started, which is crazy.
Like, it's kind of interesting because especially like for people like us, like we would like kind of go in with this idea of like we know the game plan after the show is finished. You know what I'm saying? How did you kind of, like given that Instagram was just kind of new after that, like in influencing as well too, like you don't really have the playbook. You know what I'm saying?
No. Like I honestly reckon I was one of the first sort of reality TV to influencers.
Rah.
It was nuts because they obviously took our phones off us, and before I went into the house, we were all told to put our Instagram accounts onto private.
Okay.
And then I got my phone back, and I turned it off private without really thinking. Because again, you're right. Like there was no playbook for this. So I remember getting my phone back the night I was evicted and turning my Instagram off private, which automatically allows every single friend request through. Because if everyone's been sitting there waiting to follow you, when you switch from public to private, they just automatically are accepted, right?
Yeah.
So I went from having like 300 close personal friends following me to like 300 something thousand in an instant.
Wow.
And I also didn't know that you had to turn your notifications to the fact that like now my notifications are set to I only get notified if someone I follow does something.
Yes. Yeah.
But at the time I didn't know that was an option. So my phone was just like
Bing, bing,
like,
bing, bing, bing.
all night, and I couldn't
Literally.
even access my phone because I didn't know that there were all these options and there were all these sort of things you had to do. So it was pretty wild. I remember getting so many freebies and just being really psyched that I was getting free T-shirts and free dresses. Little did I know that I could actually get money for wearing those free T-shirts.
Most definitely, man. Thank you so much for paving the way. So we appreciate that.
Literally, yeah.
You are welcome. You're welcome.
Listen, girl, so we just want to dive into the journey, you know what I'm saying, like of, your stint, you know what I mean, on Big Brother. And I think the craziest thing about your story was when you went in and it was mainly focused around your relationship with Drew and your girlfriend, Talia.
Yeah, Talia.
Talk me through when you first walked in, you know what I mean? Because you're already laughing, girl, because you already know you're like, it's a smoke.
I mean, it's funny blowing your entire life up on national television when you're 25. Look, I went in there pretty confident in my relationship. We had a few, we'd had a few issues prior that I've never really spoken about because it's no one's business. But we weren't in the most concrete of spaces. Let's be real. In fact, she had ditched me in lockdown. We were in a hotel for 10 days before going into the house, and she had left halfway through to go to Splendid in the Grass. And in hindsight, I'm like, was that a red flag? Like, you probably should have ditched the festival to stay with your partner. But anyway, to the heat or there. So I thought when I first came into the house, because Drew came in 2 days later than all of us, he was like not an intruder, but like a late addition.
Yeah.
So I came in and I clocked every housemate and I was like, yep, no, I'm so safe. Like there's no one here I find remotely attractive. I'm all good. This is going to be fun. Like I'm really excited. And then Drew walks in, and I've said this before, but I shit you not, I had Taylor Swift's I Knew You Were Trouble playing in my head.
Oh my God.
Like
Really?
the whole, I knew you were trouble when you walked in. That's what I was singing in my head. I'm like, oh, I'm in trouble here. Because you guys would know, like when you apply for these shows, you fill out so many questionnaires. Like they know everything about you. They know about your past relationships. They know about what you look for in a partner aesthetically as well.
Yeah.
And it really felt like the producers had taken all that information and concocted me a man.
Wow.
Like everything I'd asked for, everything I said I found attractive, because I dated men and women at the time.
Yeah.
He was personified in this person. But again, I felt safe because he actually entered as part of a married couple. It was a twist in the end. They weren't really married. But he came in with a wife. So I was like, okay, cool. He's freaking hot, but he's married.
Yeah.
So we're all good still. Like no temptation here.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a home wrecker. I mean, I wrecked my own home, but I'm not about to wreck somebody else's home. So again, for a couple of days, I was like, okay, cool. Like he's cute, but that's totally fine. So then when it was revealed that he wasn't really married, I knew that I was in trouble.
Because he was basically like a Build-A-Bear situation, right? Because after you done built it.
Literally. And like the stuff that, I'm not even sure if it was aired, but we really like bonded on a really sort of nerdy level.
Okay.
Like we would stay in bed like late up night talking about Pokemon.
I love Pokemon.
Right? Who doesn't
The
love
best.
Pokemon? But like it wasn't just a physical sort of like that guy's hot, like I'm going to jump him. We became really close, like best friends in there. So he was a huge support for me before anything else happened.
And we always talk about that's a good foundation to start off, any solid relationship, especially in an experience like reality TV, because you're so isolated from your normal world. Then you find this person and you're like, oh my God, my little safe space.
Do you know what? I actually have, in the years that have passed, I really value that time and the way that relationship was built, similar to what you just said.
Yeah.
Like, there's something really special and unique and almost impossible to recreate in the real world.
Yeah.
We were together every single day. We weren't getting hammered. There was no alcohol really involved, and we had the occasional sort of couple of drinks. We weren't sleeping together.
Yep.
So it was really about the core basics of getting to know somebody.
Yeah.
It was kind of sweet and wholesome and
Yeah.
old school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was a really, really unique experience in a way that we were able to bond and get. Like I could tell you, I knew everything about that guy. Like I knew about his best friend in primary school. I knew about the relationship with his mum, and you just don't get to do that in the real world. You go on a first date, and before you know it, you're 3 bottles of wine deep. Like, you know what I mean? Or is that just me?
No, you're absolutely right.
I get you.
You're most definitely right. But I think like then the other problem as well, like with being in such a situation is it's like you get to know someone so much so quick that when you then get out of, the mansion, the house, the villa, it's like you got other women involved. Like, you're hearing other stories from other people. Like it comes with a whole lot of smoke.
Yes.
And also it's like a holiday romance, right? Because
Most
it's not real
definitely.
life. Unfortunately, we couldn't stay in that manufactured Big Brother house forever. We had to come back to reality. Then you've got stuff like, for instance, we lived in different states. I was in Sydney, he was in Melbourne. You've got responsibilities, you've got jobs, you've got housemates, you've got, you're right, exes, girls come out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
So I guess it wasn't realistic, but it did sort of create this really unique bond that I think is really hard to recreate.
Absolutely.
Okay, so like there's a period of time in between when you went home and when you broke up with Talia, and I wanted to know about this kiss in the freeze. You know what I'm saying? The freeze challenge. You get me? Tell me about the period of time, like in between. Like how much time was there in between, like when you guys broke up and this kiss?
I mean, that scene is iconic. Like that's like some of the most iconic. That's probably one of the second sort of most popular things people talk to me about. Like some people haven't even watched my series, but they've seen that clip and they're like, oh my God, when you came back. So I was actually dumped by Talia whilst I was in the house, and fair play, like as she should.
Yeah,
she actually dumped me on Twitter for the world to see, again, as she should.
Wow.
So when I came out, I was already dumped. So I was evicted. I was already single. And then a couple of weeks later, I got a call from Alex Mavrodakis, who some of you guys might know.
Yeah, Alex.
Yeah. Alex, he's a Love Island and I'm a celebrity producer. He's the best at his job.
Yeah.
And he's great at making people do what he wants them to do.
Puppeteer.
Yeah. Who smells of strong cologne and darts and loves a Coke Zero. Anyway, he gave me a call up and I was actually down in Melbourne. I was visiting another housemate down in Melbourne. And he called me up and he said, listen, I have an idea. And I was like, go on. And he said, would you want to come back into the house? And of course, by that point, right, I'd been evicted. Drew was still in the house. My relationship had blown up. I was dealing with all this backlash and trolling from the media and press. All I wanted to do was crawl back to that house and be in that safe bubble, I was like, absolutely, whatever it is, I'm in, count me in. And so they flew me up for this freeze challenge. But it was great. I had so much fun. I got to go in there and everybody else was frozen and I could just run amok. Like they couldn't move. Kind of frustrating because they couldn't talk to me either. And the deal was if they moved, they would lose the challenge and therefore not get to eat that week, right? And me, I kind of was hoping that Drew would like give me something back, like wrap his arms around me, wrap his arms around me and be like, oh my God. But no, he's stuck frozen. So
he was thinking about the food, girl.
Yeah, literally.
Man needed to eat.
But the best part was after that, I got to then run back to the control room and watch the aftermath. So rather than like sort of not seeing what happened after I left, I literally ran straight from the house to the control room and then waited for Big Brother to unfreeze them and then just watched chaos ensue. Like everyone just ran to Drew. And then I even got to go and be Big Brother's voice and ask him questions, which
that's
was
so
great.
cool.
Yeah. So I got to tell, the voice of Big Brother, can you ask him this? Can you ask him that? And then see his response in real time. So that was a really cool part of that experience.
Nah, that's dope, man. And like I can kind of imagine, man, you just really just wanted to go back to the familiar, like some way that feels safe.
Especially because I'd come out to an absolute bomb. Like I had blown up my life,
Most
like
definitely,
I'd
man.
blown up my life. In hindsight, like it probably wasn't like the best idea in terms of like just rubbing salt in the wound. But I was just, there was no way I would have turned that opportunity down.
How did you deal with all the backlash?
It was really, really rough. Like it was
Yeah.
really rough. I was 25. I feel
Yeah.
like these days, again, even with both of you guys and your experiences, you see what can happen. You kind of go in with your wits about you a bit. You know that trolling is going to be a possibility. You know that the Daily Mail might be writing absolute trash about you. You kind of semi-prepared for that.
Yeah.
We had no idea. Like we just were not prepared. We had no media training. Obviously, we were offered the show's psychologist.
Yes.
But I really felt like they were kind of a puppet of the network anyway. I really wanted to speak to an independent psychologist that I felt like was really concerned about my welfare and not about the show's reputation.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And they were great about that. I basically said, listen, I'm going to find my own psychologist and you guys are going to pay for it.
Yeah.
And they did.
Yeah, that's good.
But it was rough. Like I remember there was a day where I just completely, I came back to an empty apartment. We were living together, Talia and I.
Yeah, I remember.
So she'd taken all the furniture. She'd taken the dog.
The dog too, yeah.
Yeah, and I came back and I remember my first night back in Sydney, I ate pizza sitting on the floor of my apartment
Come
just
on,
by
girl.
myself.
Come on now.
And I just pulled away. I was so upset with myself and I still to this day am. Like I'm still so angry with myself and I haven't quite forgiven myself for what I did yet. It's been a real long process. I felt like I didn't deserve support. I didn't deserve to have friends rally around me. I felt like I deserved to be punished.
Really?
Oh, why did you feel like that?
Yeah.
Because I just shat all over the person I cared about most on national television. Like,
But
it was, yeah, but I mean, that's how I felt. I felt like I didn't deserve support. So I remember this one time I completely had retracted from everything. I wasn't replying to messages. I wasn't answering phone calls. I wasn't going out of my house. And I feel like, in fact, I think it was Talia herself who was worried about me and sent a mutual friend over to do like a welfare check on me.
Wow.
And I remember seeing her and hearing my friend come to on my front porch and I hid under my dining room table and just hid there silently and just waited for them to leave. Like I couldn't even answer my door to even just to be like, hey, I'm okay. Thanks for checking on me. Bye. I couldn't even face that. So I was just hiding.
All right. I mean, I know I do that, but then I also learnt that it's a trauma response. And it's just a coping mechanism of when I get too overwhelmed and the outside's just too loud, too full on, and I just need time to... I thought in my head, I was like, okay, I rationalized it as if I needed to rest, but it's actually, I learned it was a trauma response.
If I had gone through that experience now, it'd be a completely different story because I've done all this work, I've seen a psychologist. I have all these tools under my tool belt, as they say.
Amazing.
But I was 25. I didn't even know I had anxiety.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know. So I had no tools. I had no professional help at the time.
Yeah.
And there was no one, as you said, there was no one sort of before me to look to for help. But it's kind of the reason why now I often reach out to people that I have gone on reality TV shows, especially if I see them getting a rough edit.
Yeah.
I'll often reach out via Instagram and just be like, hey, if you need an ear, if you need anything, I'm here. I've kind of been through
That's
it.
so
Wow,
beautiful.
Because the last thing I would want is for someone else to feel as alone and isolated as I did.
Yeah.
back then.
Definitely, man. But though, I'm so proud of you because, I think it was actually kind of important that you actually went through that phase for you to know that that's not the right way to respond to certain situations. You understand?
And it was so important to me as well. Like at the time, I remember the producers and the network offering to cancel all my interviews and all my media. They're like, listen, like we're concerned. You're going to get absolutely ambushed if you want for your mental health. I mean, I was on suicide watch. They had me on suicide watch
my God,
after I was evicted. I felt fine. I never felt that dark, but I guess they had been privy to what was happening on the outside, and they were worried that I wouldn't be able to handle it.
Oh my God.
So, but I said no. I said I don't want anything to be cancelled. The only way I can see through this is to go out there, own my shit,
Head on. Yep.
apologize. I did a shitty thing and not a shitty person. That was the only way I could see myself even possibly moving forward and sort of forgiving myself eventually. Had I just gone to ground and stuck my head in the sand, I couldn't have lived with myself. So I did every single interview that morning and I owned my shit.
Wow. That's
I mean,
beautiful,
that says so much about your character.
Absolutely,
and that's
man.
what I love about you. You just own it. You didn't hide your head under the sand like most emus would in that circumstance, because a lot of people do. They do.
And not many people are really, ready to take that leap in just taking accountability for their actions. You understand? And, I think like that says, a lot about, your character. And a lot of people can definitely learn a thing or two from that, man. I'm telling you.
Exactly.
Especially a lot of us guys.
That's all you can do when you fuck up is put your hand up and say, I fucked up.
Exactly.
That's on me.
100%.
That was all my... Like some people... coming out in other shows over the years and saying it was the editing, it was this, that.
Yeah.
I was like, nah, that was all me.
That's me.
I wish it wasn't. I really wish it wasn't me, but it was, and I can't blame anybody else.
Yeah.
That's all on me, and I'm gonna cough it. So that was the only way. And I think, you know what? I think that might have been the reason, because when I came out, there was a lot of love for me and a lot of support for my relationship with Drew, because everybody loves a love story.
Yep.
But there was a lot of hate,
Most
a lot.
definitely.
And I think by me owning it the way I did, that might have been what got me over
Saved
the
you,
line.
100%,
And a lot of people's opinions changed when I came out and owned it the way that I did.
And you know what, man? That would have been a lot of pressure though, too. You know what I mean? Like coming out, like, wanting to make sure that the relationship actually works as
my
well,
God.
How did that, like, how was that on you though?
Well, that's kind of why I was eager to go back for the freeze challenge, because there was an intruder who was trying to cozy on up to Drew in the house. She came after I left. And I was like, imagine if I've done all this for nothing. Like, imagine if I've just blown up my entire life and the guy gets out and he's like, actually, nah, that was just like a fun thing to like pass the time. So, there was a lot of pressure, and they flew me up for his eviction and organised a big on-stage reunion. So there was a lot of pressure on us to succeed and to last.
Absolutely. And like, how was life on the outside though?
I mean, I think, as is often the case with these shows, women get a really hard rap, and these guys are put on a pedestal. Like, I was being called a homewrecker and a cheater and stuff in the street, and he was being hailed this like heartthrob lesbian slayer. So it kind of, I mean, we're good mates now. Him and I are good mates. We talk all the time, but he'll be the first to say that it kind of went to his head a bit. And he got a bit carried away. So let's just say karma comes back around.
It does.
I learnt that the hard way.
Girl, like, even after like such a tough time, you know what I mean, the first time around, what would have made you want to go for a second?
I know, round two.
She's like, I've got one blow. She's like, let me just turn down the cheek. Let's go.
Well, firstly, I'm a masochist who enjoys inflicting pain on myself. No, do you know what? That was a no-brainer for me. Again, I loved the show, and despite what happened, I had the best time in there. I really did. It's generally a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Most definitely.
So why would you say no to going back again? But mainly, a couple of things. Firstly, we were still in lockdown here in Melbourne when I got the call. We'd been in lockdown for like ever. And the thought of A, getting out of my house, B, doing something else was really appealing.
Yeah.
Secondly, I didn't know a lot of the details, but I did know I'm smart enough to figure out that if they've asked me to come back, I won't be the only returning housemate. And so in my head, it was probably going to be like an all-stars kind of thing. And it's a huge honour as a fan of the show to be included as an all-star. I was like, absolutely. And then thirdly, I needed my redemption arc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For real.
This was my chance to prove that I am more than one mistake I made 10 years ago. This is my chance to show how much I've grown, how much I've learnt, who I am without him. And so you can imagine my surprise and disappointment when I realized that they'd chucked us both in the same house
He's
again.
back. He's back.
So you had no inkling at all?
No, and people don't believe me when I say this, but again, as I say, Drew and I are friends. We speak often, and he's always said that no amount of money in the world can make me go back. Like, I've really lent in and made media my career.
Yeah.
And, you know, so was Tim, for instance. I knew Tim would be back. I knew that they couldn't pass up having a Tim and Tully reunion. But Drew has outwardly said he would never do it again. So I was really shocked. And we talk so regularly that I just figured that one of us would have let it slip.
Yeah.
I don't know. We had no idea. I mean, sorry, he said to me that he assumed I'd say yes because he knows that I love the show. He knows that I've always said I'll go back.
Yeah.
But I thought there's no amount of money in the world that would convince him to go back. So I was genuinely shocked and disappointed.
And disappointed too.
But this was my chance.
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
my
absolutely.
chance to do my own thing, play my own game.
That would have been a trigger for sure.
Oh my God. Like same play. Oh, it was. I remember I was in the diary room about to go into the house because I came in a little bit late and the producer next to me that was like holding onto my shoulders, you know, ready to shove me through the door in his headphones, I heard camera on Drew.
Really?
Damn.
And my stomach just went,
Blah, 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 blah.
I was like, surely not.
It ain't the one.
Surely not. Surely they have not managed to get me, Tim, and Drew back together again. Like, that is just.
And it's 8 years on too, man. It's like, come on. They could have just got his
9 years on.
9. Come on now.
Crazy.
Could have just got his ass on like last year, the year before that.
I know.
I reckon he said yes to it because, again, we were in lockdown. Like, he wasn't working.
Oh, really? Yeah.
He wasn't working either. We were all kind of bored. They got us at a weak spot. They got us at a really weak spot.
Most definitely, man. What are your thoughts on the pre-recorded version of Big Brother?
Having done both now, I'm a traditionalist. I really miss the live aspect. I think I know a lot of the fans. Yeah, it really was.
Yeah.
It really was the best. And it was more engaging. You know, it allowed the fans to be a part of the show every week when they would attend the evictions.
Yep.
I understand why they do it, and I still really enjoyed being a part of it, and I also really enjoy watching it.
Yeah.
But you can never beat the live version. There's no way.
That's so
There's no
true,
way.
man.
True.
It's like the same thing with like
With
what they do with Love Island.
I know
man.
they're doing it to all of them now.
And they're like in Spain. I'm like, they're like, oh yeah, the super fans are gonna be voting.
Who
I'm
are
like,
these
who are
super
they?
fans?
Bring them out. It's just
Yeah.
Alex.
Literally. I want to see pics. Show me. I want to see
I
profiles
wanna
of
see
these
the
super
stats.
fans.
Or it didn't happen. And
Why-
they're probably
exactly.
paying the people that are like, oh no, we are the super fans, but they just work in the back.
Literally.
It kind of makes it hard to believe that all the twists and turns are genuine.
Yeah.
Because you just think, oh, well, it's just what the producers want, right? So they're
Yeah.
just picking and choosing who goes every week. It kind of takes some of the spontaneity and
true.
it's not as engaging because the fans don't feel like they actually have a role in determining what happens in the show.
Absolutely, man.
So
Man.
true.
And that's like the toughest thing too, because it's like coming out. I don't know, man. Maybe it's just me because like when I was coming out, like we weren't really allowed to like show ourselves, you know, like to the public for a little bit. So I was going everywhere like wearing like an hoodie, but like
incognito.
man, incognito and stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
You'd
like
be
now,
bloody hot in an hoodie.
hey, and it was like right after summertime too, man. So you know they knew exactly who I was because I was like, there's not that many black people walking around in Wollongong wearing an hoodie. You know what I'm saying? That's a problem. I wanted to jump into influencing though. You know what I'm saying? So coming out, I guess like the second time around when you did Big Brother, was it a little bit easier now? You know, like because you kind of seen, you know, Instagram growing as a platform for, you know, reality TV, you know, people. How was that for you?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you know, I'm sure that you guys had a similar chat with our wellness team. Every housemate had the same chat where they sort of said, listen, you know, with this kind of experience can come a lot of negativity. It's sort of the chat that I wish I'd had 10 years ago, you know, just kind of pre-warning you, hey, we can't control social media. You are going to get trolled. Not everyone's going to love you. Sort of that kind of chat. And I remember having that chat with our wellness manager in the hotel room in quarantine before I went in. And I laughed in her face. I literally like burst out and I said, there is nothing anybody can say to me that I haven't already heard. Wow. Like I felt so strong and prepared going back a second time because I'd been through the worst of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I'd been the villain already. I had copped the abuse, the emails, the texts, the DMs, the fake accounts. I'd had the paps hounding me at my house. So I was like, it can't be worse than that, right?
Paps was at your house as well?
Oh, I had a pap over my back fence when I was sunbaking topless.
Okay, now that's a problem right there.
That's insane.
The police need to be called. That ain't right.
Literally.
Didn't even give you the time
So-
to even walk out of the
No.
your front door.
No.
That's crazy.
No. So yeah, I felt really prepared. It was funny because I didn't go in the second time wanting more exposure. I didn't go in there thinking, oh, this is going to lead to something bigger. I already kind of had the following. I truly was in there for the experience. Like I really was in there to do it all again.
Yeah.
I gained a few, new followers. But I didn't go in there thinking, oh, okay, this is my chance to jump to the next thing. I was literally just a huge fangirl, like really excited to go back and get a second shot at it.
Wow. How did you go now making this platform basically business?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the people, especially from Bast anyway, when they get this villain edit, it sticks to them for life and they just can't seem to get rid of it. And I noticed that they don't really get the sponsored jobs, paid partnerships.
And the work.
They can't really do the whole influencing thing.
That's true.
Like you have been such a success story going from quote unquote villain to now like, an icon.
I think it's about how you play it and how you own it. Because if you think about people like Kieran Maguire and Abby Chatfield, they were both villains.
Yeah. That's true.
And they're doing pretty well.
They did it well, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I think it's really about leaning in, owning your shit,
Yeah.
figuring out, where you stand, who you want to be, who you're representing.
Most definitely.
And moving forward with that. I think that if you sit in victimhood or if you're constantly talking about it, like if you're constantly talking about how hard done you are,
Preach.
that's
becomes
just
your reality.
It's going to perpetuate.
Yeah,
and
so
also
true.
you're just reminding everybody do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I've been asked to go on different sort of series and shows and do interviews about, being the villain or reality TV, screwing up my life. And I've said no every single time because A, it didn't screw up my life. It's given me always opportunities that I'm very thankful for.
Yep.
And B, no, man, I've moved on.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to go and chat about something I did. I mean, ironic that I'm sitting here chatting about
I know,
that.
like, thank you so much for coming on ours.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like I'm not going to
100%.
sit there and talk about how, I was hard done by.
Yeah.
I
It
made a
was the
mistake.
edit.
I was 25.
Yeah.
That was 10 years ago. I'm a different person and we move on.
Absolutely, man. And you can definitely change your narrative, man. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of what I hate about just reality TV in general, because it's like it slowly starts to become your personality.
So
you know what I'm saying? And not many people have got the
true.
power to actually change that narrative and change, I guess like people, look, listen, it's not really your job to change people's minds, but I think people can see the quality of person that you are, when they see you in public and everything. Because like, I think something that I've been trying to, tell a lot of people is you only see what they show you. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And it's like, that doesn't mean that they're a horrible person. Like we've had a few guests that come in that are nicer than I would have thought that they would have been. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, but once again, like there's definitely a power in you actually changing the narrative, like
Definitely.
when
I
you
think
come
you
out
have
to
to-
show 'em.
You have to put your money where your mouth is too, right? Like if you come out and own your shit, you then also have to sort of prove that. You
Most
have to
definitely.
prove that you've grown. You have to prove that you've learnt a lesson. You have to prove that you're actually not that person, that you're actually, that you want to do better. And I think, it's actions speak louder than words. And I guess over the last 10 years, I've just been constantly trying to prove who I actually am versus, and also like, fuck, mine's a bit different because it wasn't like I was bitchy or mean or nasty or
exactly.
constantly in fights with everybody.
Yeah.
I wasn't a problematic housemate.
No.
I just made a mistake in terms
Exactly.
of my own life.
But I think
And
back
who-
in that time, it was like so scandalous. It was like, whoa, man.
Oh, well, gay marriage wasn't even legal, right?
Yeah,
like these
just different
days,
times,
sexuality is fluid. We all know that.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you love or how you classify yourself or
Yeah.
how you identify.
100%.
Non-binary didn't even exist in 2013.
Exactly.
So what was a huge scandal
Yeah.
back then, no one probably bat an eyelash these
I
days.
know,
Like,
right?
it wasn't
How
that big of a-
crazy is that?
It's nuts.
Insane.
Man, and listen, I actually wanted to ask you this. If you weren't to go on, it's like if you didn't go on Big Brother, what other show would you reckon you would have gone on?
I get asked this question all the time.
Yeah.
In my humble opinion, Big Brother is the best of the shows because we do nothing all we do is like sunbake and sleep and eat and like
Do
talk shit
challenges.
and play fun games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's not stressful. We're not cooking a 3-course meal in 90 minutes. We're not having to sing on stage with you guys. We're not supposed to be forming relationships, but I just slipped and fell into one. It's just a bunch of people living in a share house.
Yeah.
So in my
Yeah.
opinion, it's the best and the easiest show to do.
Bruh.
I have said before that I would be the Bachelorette.
Come on.
Only because
Yes.
I'm single again at nearly
Yes.
36. So
okay.
girl needs some help.
Yeah, we feel you.
Girl needs a lot of help. And I have always said I would love to do I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
Man, okay.
Oh, I could picture you doing
Most
that.
definitely, man.
That's mainly because it raises money for charity and I would want
Yes.
to raise money for Dementia Australia. But I just feel like it's kind of a beautiful little mix between Big Brother and like say Survivor. It's like a happy medium. Like
True.
there's that sort of camaraderie in the community, but you are outside and you are doing these kind of scary and yucky challenges. I just feel like it's a nice little happy medium between the two.
Most definitely.
I would never do maths. I've been asked to do maths before, and I was like,
Don't do
over my dead body. And I'm too old to do Love Island. Alex did try and get me to audition a couple of years back, but I'm like, no, man, I'm too old to be walking around in sky high heels and dangly jewelry. Like,
Come
it's
on,
not for
girl.
me.
I get you. I relate so much to your story because prior to Married at First Sight, I was also single for 8 years and I'm turning 35 next week. And last
Libra
week...
baby.
Yes! And last
Can you see
week...
my necklace? I'm wearing a Libra
Oh my God,
necklace.
stop. I was
That's a
literally
Libra
going
as well.
to wear mine and my pendant fell off.
Oh my God.
Libra
Twinsies.
energy.
This was made to be.
So lately I haven't been feeling my best and I've told everyone that. So I got all my bloods and everything done and they were like, obviously being almost, basically let's just round it up. I'm 35 now because I'm 35 next week. And they were like, have you thought about checking your eggs, your fertility check and your hormones and everything? And I was like, with like my past health issues, I was like, you might as well just do the whole lot. And I didn't realize how expensive everything was. So just to even get my fertility check, it's not covered by Medicare at all because I've got private health. And I was shook. That was already $90. And then it was already $130 just to see the GP. And it was $49 for like car park. I'm like this broke bitch.
It adds up.
Fuck
It
me.
all
Yes. And then I sat down and she, went through the whole thing with me. She's like, if you want to start freezing your eggs, it's between like 7 to 10 grand. But if you fall between this bracket, if your test comes back and you're in this bracket of what's considered like low in terms of your eggs.
Yeah, because then that becomes a medical rather than a social egg freeze.
Correct.
Yeah.
How was your process through going through this whole thing? Because I'm like obviously a bit nervous now. Like
Yeah,
'cause
I was I put it off for
Yeah.
so long. So
Same.
yeah, I really want kids. It's just I was born to be a mum. I love children.
see
I've always
that.
wanted a family, and I kind of just, as everyone does, I wanted it to work out the way you've always imagined it.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'll meet someone and then we'll get married and then we'll have kids, and I'll look at my Pinterest board. And just year after year, I remember I kept saying to my best friend, okay, if I'm still single this time next year,
Yeah.
like at my birthday, I was like, I'm going to do it. And then a year would go past and a year would go past and I just kept putting it
Yeah.
off because
Yep.
it's really daunting. It's
It is.
expensive. It seems overwhelming.
And
You
there's no
kind of-
guarantee either.
No.
That
kind
those
of
eggs
feel-
will be good.
Yeah, it's super risky. Like,
Huge.
like there's no guarantees.
Yeah.
And there is, unfortunately, and it's something that I've been trying to change, is that there is this stigma attached to it where you feel like you've failed in some way.
Yeah.
Like you haven't hit those milestones everybody else around you has hit. You feel like this sad Bridget Jones spinster
So true.
having to go and like do this medical procedure because what? Because you can't bag a man? Like that's, and it's dumb. It's so silly that we feel that way, but we do feel that
know.
way.
Yep.
And that's society, that's social media, that's, that's years of reading Cosmopolitan magazine that's like done this to our brains. But so I was putting it off. And then I did the initial AHA level test.
Yes.
And that was my initial kind of baby step, dipping my toe into the little fertility pool.
Yep.
And that came back and she was like, listen, I would say nothing to worry about right now. you're not super high, but you're not low. You're kind of on the, in the average space. What I would suggest, she said, is do the same test the same time next year. And then based off those results, whether there's been a huge drop, whether they kind of stayed the same, then we'd either recommend that you start trying or you freeze your eggs.
Wow.
So with that, I kind of felt like I could breathe for at least a year. I kind of could relax for a year.
Yep.
And then I met Daniel. And I just thought, oh, well, now everything's going to go perfectly. And like, this is what I've been waiting for. And like, I don't need to stress anymore. Like, I've met the love of my life. We're going to get married. We're going to have kids. And I realized, I mean, even just from, getting to know Daniel more, like I realized that he wasn't as ready as I was for kids. He probably would have wanted to wait a bit. So even then I was like, okay, I'm probably still going to have to continue to look into my fertility.
Yeah.
And then it was when Daniel took the job and moved, and I went to visit him and I saw how established he was. I saw how much he was loving his job. He'd made these amazing friends. He was really happy. And I thought, fuck, you're not coming home, are you? Oh. And I kind of had this moment where I was like, I don't want to miss out on my dream.
Yeah.
Waiting and supporting you following yours.
100%.
Like, I don't want to sit here and watch you chase your dreams and lose out on possibly having my dreams.
Well, this is like this is your birthright to be a mother. I feel like as a woman, do you know what I mean? It's not just a career choice. I don't know.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
It's kind of, and it's tricky again. Like I get so frustrated. We have it so fucking hard as women.
We fucking do.
Like my age, like the fact that my age is working against me in such a manner that it's forcing me to make all these big, scary decisions. Like, I don't want to have to. You think I want to be sitting my partner of 2 years down and drilling him about when he wants to have kids? I don't want to have to do that.
I
don't want to be that person, but I need to know. Unfortunately, it's out of my control. It's out of my hands. It's a biological issue that I can't fucking change.
100%.
And so, unfortunately, I have to know. I have to have a bit of a rough timeline.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to miss out. So
I feel you. I just started talking to someone on Hinge and I'm just like, this is so awkward now. Like, do I
You
bring
have to
it
be
up?
like, hey, do you want kids on? You have to.
Yeah.
You have to. At our age, like, and it sucks and it feels so unfair. It's like we're made to feel and act crazy.
Yeah.
And it's like, listen, buddy, trust me. I don't want to be asking you about kids either on night one, but I have no choice.
Yeah.
So I basically decided to freeze my eggs regardless because I figured, listen, either I'm going to still be with Daniel, but it's going to be a couple of years off still because he is following and chasing his career right now, or we don't last, we don't survive long distance and we break up and then I'm back at square one at 36.
It's a process.
So I knew that regardless, freezing my eggs was the right thing to do. But it was fun. I mean, I did 2 rounds. Like, it wasn't easy.
Cool. And you've been like very, very open and public about it all. And I wanted to ask how the audience kind of received that.
I mean, the majority of it was so supportive, and I had hundreds and hundreds of women messaging me saying, thank you for talking about this. Either they were like us and they were considering it but a bit scared and overwhelmed, and watching me go through it step by step really made them sort of get their head around the process a bit more.
Yep.
But then there were also these women who were in their 50s who had missed the boat and was messaging me saying, I wish there was someone like you around when I was younger to talk about this because we just didn't know our options and it's too late for me now.
Yeah.
There were people that had gone through IVF who were like, thank you for, shedding a light on how tricky it is and the process and educating people. So there was a huge amount of support. There were obviously people, it's a very touchy subject and I was very, very lucky and privileged enough to be able to do it as part of a collaboration with Monash IVF. And thank God for that because I wouldn't be able to afford it otherwise. 2 rounds, that's $20,000.
Far out.
So there was some backlash in terms of me doing it as a collaboration, but I really truly believed that there was this sort of greater good in terms of me educating, inspiring, empowering young women to take their fertility into their own hands. And I definitely feel like I've made a difference. I know I can.
You did.
I can list like over 100 women that have gone and made that first appointment based off my content. So if I've helped even one woman take control of her fertility and safeguard her future, it was all worth it.
Absolutely, it's just crazy how the universe and how synchronized everything is. Because no joke, you can go on my TikTok now, and I made a huge rant about this even before I knew we were going to chat to you. So when Hannah, our producer, was like, "Oh, we're going to talk to Tully," I was like, "Get the fuck out of here!"
Really?
I was dying to talk to you about this because, like, your story just hits home.
Just slide into my DMs.
Yeah, but
door's wide open.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. I feel like it's a bit awkward to be like, "So how'd you get that collab?"
Honestly,
low key,
honestly,
tell me.
I asked my manager. I had seen a few other influencers. Moana Hope had gone through Monash IVF and worked with them, and I'd seen her journey.
Right.
And I just had really great stories about Monash IVF, and so I literally came back from the States.
Yeah.
Emailed my manager and said, "Hey, I know it's a long shot because it's a bit of an unusual collaboration.
Yeah.
And they don't work with a lot of people, but I said, I know it's a long shot. I'm going to get my eggs frozen regardless.
Yeah.
Do you want to maybe reach out to Monash and see if they want to collaborate? If they do, absolutely amazing. Like, oh my God, lifesavers. And if they don't, I'll just do it myself.
Cool. Yeah, it's worth a shot.
But I figured you may as well ask. If you don't ask, you don't get, right?
Exactly.
So if I can save, as I said, I don't have $20,000 just sitting around. So I'm eternally grateful and feel so privileged to have had that opportunity.
Man, that's beautiful, man. Well, my girl, thank you so much for sharing, man. This is amazing.
I'm
And
so inspired now.
come on now.
It was meant to be.
And listen, man, I
Babe,
think
just
like
do it. You got to do it.
Okay,
there are payment plans as well you can get.
Are there?
Yeah, you can pay it up
Okay.
bit by bit.
Okay.
I don't even if you guys, I mean, I'm sure you guys know this, but when women are born, right, we're born with the amount of eggs we're going to have our entire lives, right?
Really? I actually didn't know that.
So really, how wild is this? You have been in your grandmother's stomach. Think about it.
whoa.
Because when your mum was born, she has all her eggs inside of her. How wild is that? It's a bit creepy and a bit yuck. But
It's
you
like
have
Inception.
been. Yeah, I know. So when women are born, we are born with the amount of eggs we're ever going to have. That's it. So if you're born with 55, you're only going to have 55, which is why as we get older, it gets more and more important. And yeah, that's the odds are fucked. It's actually really fucking hard to get pregnant. We spend, our late 30s, mid 30s desperately trying to hold on to them, and protect them and then use them. Meanwhile, the men are just making you sperm all day, every day, jerking off, throwing it into socks, throwing it on the roof, literally jerking off into socks and chucking it away on the roof.
Open your mouth.
On your
Whoa!
do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like they are throwing this. We are trying all we can to protect
my
our
precious.
poor little eggs, and they are chucking it on the walls, on the roof, in socks, in their hand, on the
have mercy.
sheets, in tissues. Like it's just so fucking unfair.
It is, isn't it? So true.
Imagine if they had to protect their sperm like we have to protect our eggs.
Can you imagine?
I'm speechless, man.
Honestly.
I lost it when she
good
said
point,
socks. I'm like,
though.
God damn, man.
Yeah, how many crusty socks you've under your bed, Taku? I
No.
don't even want to know.
I mean, I'm not a sock guy anyway, so it's all good.
No?
You know
Or
what I'm
just
saying?
some Palmer's moisturizer in your hand? No,
How the hell,
this is taking a weird turn. I'm sorry.
Palmer's is my weapon of choice. But anyway,
same.
on that note, girl.
Palmer's is mine too. I mean, for my body.
Oh, sorry.
Obviously.
Okay, cool. Just checking, just making sure. Wow. Oh my God, that took a turn. Listen, given that we're taking a left turn, girl. So we usually have a game that we play, but we usually play it like if you were like in the studio. But we would usually give you some dice to roll, and it's called That's Dicey.
Roll the dice.
Roll the dice. So what we're gonna do instead is you're gonna pick a number from let's say from 1 to 12. Okay, and then we're gonna ask you the question that correlates.
Okay,
You down to
8.
play?
Always 8.
Yay.
Let's go. Yeah, she's like always 8. Lucky number.
8. Yeah.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
8's my lucky number, yeah.
Mine's 7. All right,
cute.
number 8.
Okay, I like this one because I want to know too. We heard you were originally casted on season 1 of The Challenge Australia. Is this true? If so, why didn't you appear on the show in the end?
It's not true. They were in touch with my manager. I think Tim and I were both, they reached out to both of us. But I think the final word was that Big Brother finale had happened too close to the start of the challenge. I think that was the final word we got.
makes
But they
sense.
reached out to us to see if we were interested. Thank God I didn't do it. Are you kidding?
Serious?
I'm not cut out for that show. I am not that fit.
Yes,
I would
you
be
are.
Come
no,
on,
I
girl.
killed it.
I'd be huffing and puffing the whole way. Plus, then it would have been. Yeah, nah. I think Kieran had enough ex-flames on that series. I think I was right to miss it.
No, fair enough. All right, let's go. Next one.
Another one?
Another.
Okay, 4.
Ooh. You once dated a Bachelor contestant called...
You guys have been doing some real Google digging, haven't you?
Don't worry about it. And his name was Kieran Scott, okay? In an Instagram caption, you said that you actively pursued him.
Oh my God. When
Is that
did I
true?
say
Let's
that?
start with there. Is that true?
No. First
No?
of all, I mean, did we date? I don't know if we dated. He wouldn't say we dated. I saw Kieran on The Bachelorette when he was, pursuing Angie, and he was this sweet, cheeky little English chap.
Yeah, he's a
Really
sweet-
charming. He cried because his grandma was sick, he had to leave. That's the Kieran that I was familiar with.
Yeah.
When I met Kieran. He had just moved to Melbourne, and, I'm a very gracious host. And as I said, I do feel and reach out to different people from different shows, offer support if they want advice. I'm often kind of that big sister, I guess, role. And so when I saw he'd moved to Melbourne, I said, oh, like if you need, if you want me to put you in touch with PR company, whatever. But the guy that I thought he was this sweet, cheeky chap lad. He had just finished filming Bachelor in Paradise,
Yeah.
but I hadn't seen it yet. It hadn't gone to air. And had I seen it, there is no way in hell I would have gone for a drink with him because
Serious?
Did you guys watch The Bachelor in
Absolutely.
Paradise?
Yeah, I did. I was like...
How he treated women and how he treated my dear friend Jess Brody now.
Yeah.
Like,
We had
Yeah,
her
we had her
on
last
here
week.
recently.
I
so we know
I
all
saw.
the tea.
Jess and I, so Jess and I are now good mates, and we've synced our calendars, and there's some certain clashes that have happened. But look, I would never have gone for a drink with him had I watched his behaviour on Bachelor in Paradise. I think it was absolutely abysmal and embarrassing and not good enough. I just feel like I really wish I'd watched Bachelor in Paradise before I had met him, because if that isn't a flashing warning red flag sign, I don't know what is. I just think he has a lot of growing up to do and a lot of therapy to do.
Yeah.
Shit. God
Yeah.
damn.
Wow, we keep hearing the same thing.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
Maybe
But
we
like,
need to get him on to grill him.
Oh, you should.
reckon?
Oh,
I said, why not? And then we just bring all of his exes on.
Yes, like a whole panel.
Yeah, like all pattern. This is like the red table.
Yeah.
Jada Smith. All right, go. We got another one in.
2.
So, would you ever move back to Sydney?
I get asked that question a lot.
Yeah.
My family's in Sydney. It'll always be home.
Uh-huh.
I've often said I would move for love or money. So if I fell in love with someone and they lived in Sydney, or they needed to move to Sydney, or I got offered an amazing job up there, I would move back. But Melbourne's really my home. I've been here for nearly 8-9 years, and it's just, I love it down here. I love the people. All my closest friends are down here now.
Yeah.
The food, the bars,
culture,
the coffee, the cultures, the
Absolutely, man.
galleries.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Sydney will always be home, and I would never say never to moving back. But right now, Melbourne's definitely home for me.
Absolutely. All right, so we got one more.
Oh my goodness. 6.
Oh, okay. This is a spicy one. Are there any reality TV stars that you've hooked up with back in the day that media never found out about?
I'm sure there are. Yeah, I'm sure there are. Back in the day.
think of one.
Back in my heyday.
One that's like, ooh.
Oh, you want me to give you a name?
Yeah.
Okay, actually, he won't mind. I don't know if you guys remember, because it's like old school, but there was a Big Brother housemate called Josh in the series before mine.
Yes.
So 2012. He was this kind of like surfer dude. I had a massive crush on him, and yeah, we ended up hooking up after my season. So that felt like a win for like fangirl Tully, you know? 'Cause, like,
Yeah.
I'd watched
100%.
his series before my series and thought he was really cute.
Yeah.
And then based off me going on the show and him knowing who I was, we managed to have a little
Cross
sneaky
paths.
pash one night. Yeah, so that was fun for me.
Come on. Okay.
Wow.
Were you expecting somebody else? Who were you expecting?
I'm not giving you guys any actual dirt or tea. Like you have squeezed so
As
much
much
of
as
me
we could.
already. Like I'm literally mentally going back through our chat, being like, what do I have to make sure gets cut out? Like
I'm
what have
sorry.
I said that I need to make sure
No,
gets
you've been
removed?
so
No, you've been
good,
good.
Tully. Thank you so much.
The problem with me is I haven't got a filter. That's why I make a great podcast. I'm just like, oh, what's that? Like,
You just let shit fly.
you want my entire life story? Here you go. Like,
It's a good thing, though. It shows that you're real. We
Most
love that.
definitely,
yeah.
man.
Yeah.
No, it's been
No
fun.
BS.
I obviously miss, like, my podcast has been on hiatus for way too long now, but I obviously miss, like, doing it. So it's been fun to chat with you guys.
Most definitely, man. Thanks so much for making the time, girl. And hopefully
Of
when you come
course.
through to Sydney, we can catch up.
Yeah,
and you can
please.
take us to
Yeah.
some of these
Yeah.
nice events, right?
No, we
Sure.
could just even go out for a coffee or a drink.
I feel like, Selena, you have like 100 more questions for me. So if you
burning
want to
questions.
shoot me a DM.
Oh, you know I will. Yeah.
I'm happy to
I'm gonna
chat
hold
off-
you to that.
off it. Yeah, do. Please do.
Listen, I'm just more than happy to just come and just take notes so I know, you know what I'm saying? So I can just get educated on some of these things,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We need more men
good,
like
right?
you in the world.
No,
Taku,
it's okay.
honestly.
I'm just, Selena taught me a whole lot, you know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah, but so did Tully.
absolutely.
Do you know what? I watched your season of Love Island.
Oh my God, did
Taku,
you?
and I thought you were such a sweetheart.
Oh
I thought
my
you
God,
were
thank you.
a real gentleman, and it's
Wow.
He is.
we don't have a lot. Men like you don't really exist
Oh
around
my
anymore.
God.
You're like a
That's-
unicorn.
That's a gas up, but I appreciate that.
I thought you were really sweet.
That's a gas
so-
up, man. Man, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. I get weird when people say stuff
I
like
know,
that. I'm
you
like,
can't even look
okay,
us in
so
the
would you have a look
eye.
at the time, girl? I left the chicken in the oven. No, but hey, listen. Maybe when we are in Melbourne, we actually get to go and see it.
Yes.
But
Let me know.
once again, girl, thank you so much for coming on. And guys, thank you so much for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. And we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.
Yo.
Love you. Bye.
Reality.